lost mine in the sand. Where will you stand?
Live from Modine, Hanok Young. Hey, good morning, afternoon,
Hey,
whatever
Mike,
it
how
is
are you?
there.
Chag Sameach.
Chag
Hope everyone
Sameach.
who's listening has been having an enjoyable, meaningful, and insightful Pesach. Um, I guess the big news from Israel, before we go on to the news that makes the news, um, so yesterday I had the opportunity to ascend the Harabayat, the Temple Mount,
Yes.
and there were mobs of people where
Wow.
you have to the police just keep holding you back, and they're letting up groups of 36, 42,
Wow.
44, 39. I was in the fourth group that went up. And that wasn't the fourth group of the day. I mean, there had already been several groups. That was close to about 9:30.
Now,
Today,
are
I'm
these
sorry?
Jewish groups?
Well, yeah, Jewish groups.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, Jewish groups. Um, Jewish groups going up to pray.
good.
And today already I had seen numbers as high as 1,230.
That's amazing.
It's
Is this because
it's
of Passover, or what do you attribute this to?
okay. Okay, well, it's certainly due to Pesach,
Okay.
without a doubt. Pesach, Sukkot, and Shavuot, the three pilgrimage
Yeah.
festivals. Of course, everyone listening says, "Oh, yeah, Chanukah, we knew that, of course." Right. But it provides that opportunity.
Okay.
And what's fascinating is, of course, although we're starting to have tourism come back, I mean, these are Israeli Jews. These are Israeli Jews. So the number of Israeli Jews that go for tefillah, for prayer on the Temple Mount is increasing exponentially.
Mm.
That's incredibly exciting because it's real and it indicates a real change within the various elements of the Jewish community
Yeah.
in the land of Israel. So that's in and of itself remarkable. Now let's look at the overall news. What's going on? Well, I got to tell you, I'm not a gambler,
But
but if I was about to roll the dice, it could come up to anything.
yeah.
Let's talk about what we know. What we know. Witkoff, Trump's designated negotiator for Iran, is already making it clear that the Trump view is to limit Iran's nuclear whatever, but not end it.
Yeah.
So, in other words, what the Trump administration is looking for is another version of the Obama
Hmm.
deal with Iran.
Hmm.
Now, again, here's my eternal caveat. When I speak about Trump, I am only speaking about his policies and actions vis-a-vis Israel
Hmm.
and or those that affect Jews, like the alleged deportations of Hamas activists in America, which maybe we can talk about if we have time. Okay, so the question is, this is very much not what we in Israel or anywhere around the world that really understands Iran has hoped for.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, of course, the saber rattling, the US moves B-2 bombers from one base to another base closer to the Middle East. Supposedly, there's a second aircraft carrier group coming to the Middle East. I'm assuming the Mediterranean. We don't know. You hear all these things, but I honestly don't believe that America is prepared and willing to take military action against Iran despite all the threats.
I'd have to agree with you on that. Yeah.
Now, it could be that we're proven wrong, Mike. It could be,
Yeah.
but it doesn't seem that way because, again, I come back to if Hamas does not free the hostages
Yeah.
by January 20th,
Yep.
there's going to be hell to pay. So,
Yep.
saying there's going to be hell to pay with Iran, here it is, we're in the middle of April.
Well, I think that, from what I see in Trump, he wants to be this non-war president. That's kind of a legacy that he held on
Yeah.
to in his previous term of there were no wars breaking out. It wasn't until, the previous administration that we see Hamas, that we see Iran or Russia. He wants to be that person is kind of what I see.
Agreed. I agree with
Um,
you.
the problem is with Iran, you have people that they would be in the loony bin of the loony bin. Okay, these are certifiable lunatics regarding their religious views and everything. And I've heard I mean, how many years have we heard that they're about to get a nuclear weapon? This is kind of like the mantra. This is like the Coyote and Roadrunner that's been going on for Saturday morning after Saturday morning for 20 years. And at some point in time, they're going to have this. And to think that they're not going to use it, they don't care. This is a group of people
That's the thing. Yeah.
that life in Judaism, one of your problems that you have in Judaism is life is the highest order.
Which is why our hands are so tied
Exactly.
regarding the hostages. Yeah.
And for Iran, their mantra is life is the lowest order. They don't care.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, when I was a kid, there was a tremendous fear of nuclear war with the Soviet Union. And we drilled and we had, all the, which again, I laugh about it now because the idea that there would be a Soviet bombing
Yeah.
of New York and we would get under our desks
Yeah.
and or there was a second one where they would pull the shades down and we would go with our books and coats and sit in the hall, which
Mhm.
we know is tremendous protection against nuclear fallout. I mean, we know that now.
Well, if
So,
you've been to an auction and you've tried to pick up one of those desks that we used to sit
oh
at,
God,
you
yeah,
know that the thing weighed 100 pounds. So maybe it was right. I don't know.
it could have been okay, but there was something called pardon me, MAD, mutually assured destruction.
Yeah.
It was a counterweight for Shiite Muslims to be threatened with being killed. Martyrdom is the highest achievable state
Yeah.
in their whole lexicon.
Yeah.
This is what it's all about. So, okay, so what Trump thinks he's going to do with Iran, I have no idea. But it's not looking good.
No.
Let's move on to other elements. So there is no ceasefire with Hamas, but it is a semi-state of war.
Hmm.
We bomb some things, we kill some terrorists. The problem that we have, our chief of staff, Zamir, said it the other day, we don't have enough personnel to be able to go seize all the sections of Gaza that we need to do, clear them all out, and be active in Judea and Samaria,
Hmm.
and be active in the northern fronts of both Lebanon and Syria. We just don't.
Yeah.
Um, we can't keep 300,000 reservists, called up. We can't exist as a nation on all levels. The economy, the social fabric of our society, it just doesn't work.
Hmm.
So that's a huge problem. Meanwhile, you've got Hamas who says, okay, we'll release all the hostages. Israel has to stop the war totally, guaranteed. They're not going to disarm and they're not stepping down. Meanwhile, in Israel, there is a growing movement to get the hostages back at all costs.
Yeah.
Our humanity, and again, we've been saying it for a year and a half. Our humanity is what works against us. And to have to look at someone and say, here it is Pesach, here it is Chag HaCherut, the festival of our freedom, and we speak about the children of Israel leaving Egypt and slavery, but no, your son, your husband, your neighbor, you know, pardon me, will stay imprisoned and or be killed. As it is, we have held back. 75% of the Hamas tunnels still exist. It's very clear that we didn't bomb many of them because of fear of injuring our hostages. The fact that we have now legitimized the idea that you can continue to take Israeli or worldwide Jewish hostages and hold us over a barrel. Okay, let's push that aside.
Hmm.
What's going on in Lebanon?
Wait a minute.
The
Wait a minute. Hold on.
I'm sorry.
Okay, 75%. I just want to go back and make sure that people get a hold of this. Israel has been in there for a year and a half
Yeah,
and has only been able uh, to destroy 25% of the tunnels. Now,
correct.
this opens up an interesting question of who knows how many tunnels there are. Have they found maps? Have they found diagrams to know how many tunnels? Or, not to get conspiracy, deep state thing that we were talking about before we went on the air, but did someone know that all this stuff existed prior to and just didn't do anything?
Okay. The full
Inquiring minds want to know. All
okay.
right.
The full extent, it doesn't appear was known,
Mm-hmm.
but we knew that they were building tunnels. The only thing that we focused on, though, were those tunnels that went into Israel. Not that we found all of them, but that's what we focused upon. And we knew that they were smuggling from Egypt through the Rafah crossing. But there were still tunnels there. We didn't get all of them. It's astounding. I mean, it really is astounding when you consider that on the northern front, Hezbollah, we were ahead of them every step of the way. Of course, we sat and we accepted bombing from them for
Mm-hmm.
over a year.
Yeah.
But when we finally acted, we really cleaned their clock. I mean, it
Yeah.
was amazing. So what's going on there now is supposedly the Lebanese army, the government of Lebanon has stated that there's only going to be one armed forces, one in all of Lebanon.
Hmm.
But their army is composed mostly of Shiite Muslims.
Yeah.
They're not going to disarm Hezbollah. Meanwhile, Israel is still sitting there. Israel is still sitting in a little section of Syria, very little section near our border. But Turkey is still eyeing putting bases there, which is a huge threat to us. Um, Now, no update on the tariffs because there's kind of like a 90-day
Yeah.
moratorium. Um, but that's very disconcerting. Uh, the way Trump spoke about it when he had Netanyahu in the same room with him was really unnerving. I mean, as someone in their younger years who used to be sent to the assistant principal for behavioral issues,
Often.
it more frequently than I would like to admit. Let's put it that way. Um, it, it, it's one thing to speak to a kid that way. The other thing is the way Trump, made those remarks of like, well, we give you all the, I mean, so in other words, we're going to charge 17% tariff on Israeli goods, crush segments of your economy because we're giving you aid because of what you're doing on behalf of American foreign policy goals.
Yeah.
Understand that. America doesn't give Israel military aid because they like us. They give us military aid because it serves the purpose of the projection of American power and American foreign policy.
Well, let me just interject something. I know this is probably going to be controversial, even, to you, maybe. I don't know. That as somebody that has been in the presence of Netanyahu, you know this, years ago, the man used to be, whether you liked him or not, when he walked in the room, he commanded the room.
Yeah.
He commanded the respect of the room. In Netanyahu's first visit to Trump in this term, I termed him as Trump's lapdog. He acted like, a little yappy dog that was muzzled, and it was just like, that was the opinion I had coming out of
Yeah.
it. The same as Iran, Lebanon, whatever Muslim country you want to put in there, they only respect strength.
Absolutely.
Trump is the same in that
Yeah.
he only respects strength. So
Yeah.
I think that when Netanyahu came in the first time into the White House, the Oval Office, and did not come in with strength, but instead his lapdog approach, this
Yeah.
kind of set up what happened in the last visit. Just my opinion.
It sounds on target to me.
Okay, well
You
that,
know,
that may that may
I
scare me that we're agreeing on that one. So I don't know.
well, but it's really the internal discussions in Israel. Um, there was a lot of speculation that Netanyahu was going to see Trump because there was going to be an immediate joint operation
Yeah.
against Iran. Um, so that's why you didn't hear a lot of commentary in Israel or from Israel after that White House visit.
Hmm.
People were in shock. Um, Not me, but people were in shock.
Hmm.
Um, just the other day on Pesach, um, I was out. Um, you know, it's really great when you have a grandchild that's able to come and visit. He didn't come by himself, but you're walking in the street from the park, and the siren goes off because of an incoming ballistic missile.
Yeah.
So you're not near the apartment, you're not near a safe room. My feelings were in fear, but were many of those words, which would be best not to repeat, and anger that this is ongoing.
Yeah.
This thing with the Houthis is ongoing. Um, the other day, I opened up the doors to the Mirpeset, the not the porch, terrace. I'm
Balcony.
losing. I totally losing English words. But anyway,
The balcony.
balcony. Thank you. The wind started howling, but it was like, uh,
Oh,
and for a moment you just stop.
yeah.
When a motorcycle begins to go up the hill, and again, it happened to me in Franklin, North Carolina.
Yeah.
I mean, it, and I would say I'm better mentally adjusted, shocking term, than many other Israelis
Is
because
that,
I
yeah. Yeah.
believing and understanding that the world wanted to kill me. Certainly my neighbors did. So there's no, I didn't grow up with this idea that, what's happening. The fact that Jewish communities around the world and individual Jews are struggling with what's happening. See, here's the thing. This war will eventually end. There'll be some kind of agreement, something, our troops will pull out, whatever it is, but this will stop.
Yeah.
Jew hatred around the world, discrimination against Jews,
Never
the
stop.
idea that the term Zionism, in many people's minds, without understanding or caring to understand, means racism, is not going to go away. It's only going to get worse.
I saw the craziest post I think I've ever seen on Facebook, and that's saying a lot. Okay. Um, and it was, come join us for an anti-Zionist Pesach. Excuse me, how can you do that? I mean, I didn't even go to where it was because I thought anybody that's stupid enough to come up with that, I don't want to even follow them. Okay. I was seeing that, in Hostage Square, there was the Passover, the Pesach meal there. Some went down to the border of Gaza and had a Pesach there
Yeah.
at our own Passover table. We took the matzah that's in the center of the table. We took a piece of the matzah or a whole piece of matzah and put it to the side in memory of the hostages.
Yeah.
Hey, it's we're a year and a half away, and this whole thing that came out of the Shoah, never forget, never again, never forget. Well, uh, we know that the vast majority of people have forgotten. At our table, it was not forgotten. In fact, the we had two bottles of wine on the table. One was an Edom from Saigot, and the other was the one of two bottles of wine that I got from Israel from Torah Winery called Victory. And we drank that wine that we opened that one toward the last part of our Seder of we are sitting here. We may not be in victory yet, but we're going to taste what it's like already. And I tell you what, Hanok, uh, Torah, Torah is one of my favorite wines in all of Israel. This Erez Benzadon, my hat's off to you if I was wearing one. He came up with the most incredible, and I need to send a WhatsApp to them about this. This wine fit the occasion and the title of Victory.
Yeah.
It had a fruitiness that I've never tasted in a Torah wine.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I have it. I typically before Pesach, I place an order. Although, and I hate to mention this because, it'll create envy. I mean, I walk a block away to a liquor store and I can get Tura wines,
Yeah,
I
I know.
can get Arbracha wines, I can get Psagot. I mean, it's like,
Now you're bragging.
I'm sorry. So I got Victory as well. I ordered it. And what was funny was it was delivered a day later, the whole order. Um, there are real advantages to being in Israel. I admit it. It's like people say, like, do you, this is, it was a very well-meaning question. I did not take it wrongly. A few years ago, I was asked, do I go out of my way to buy Israeli products?
Well, I guess that would be if you're heading to one store and you decide to go to a different store, that would be going out of your way.
I said I'd actually have to go out of my way to buy an imported product. But it does exist. But anyway, the thing that's interesting is Pesach is about freedom.
Yeah.
Pesach is the formation, excuse me, it's the predecessor of the formation of the nation of Israel. Our belief and understanding as we became a nation at Har Sinai, Mount Sinai, Shavuot. But Pesach, so here's the time. I was telling people this the other day. I ran into people that I had known from a few years ago who were back in Israel. And we were talking about how this is right now, we're hitting into a time where people really can show if they're with Israel.
Hmm.
And I don't I don't feel at all anxious about that. I know a lot of people that I've known and have cared for over the years will drop away. That's just facts. It hurts me personally, but it is what it is. But here's the time. People were saying, I want to come to Israel. I'd like to, but and they talk about airlines. But Delta, United, British Airways, Lufthansa, Air France, they're all coming.
Yeah.
They're all coming.
And of
You,
course,
you were telling me right before we went on the air,
yeah,
we'll have the information in
yeah,
the next number of weeks about the Connect to
yeah,
Israel tour.
yeah.
We'll see who comes and rings the
We're
bell.
working on it. We're working on it. Hey, Hanok, I have a very important question to ask you. Okay,
Sure.
in tying up the program, I know we could go into a lot of, just futile subjects like, Iran and that we could continue on that. But the question was raised yesterday that I think really we need our Israel expert to be able to tell us this. Okay.
Okay.
And this question was posed by Alex.
Okay.
Okay, now that should scare you to begin with. My favorite brain nurse. Okay, and his question was this. Let me just get here and says, how does the matzah factory stay in business? They sell matzah for 1 week a year. Maybe they shut it down for the rest of the year.
I've never worked in a matzah factory, but actually there is an element to that because matzah is eaten all year long.
Yeah.
In fact, I had Catholic neighbors in the Bronx who loved matzah and butter all year long.
Oh yeah, with garlic salt.
So this is, uh, okay. But among the Jewish jihadi supporters in America, there was a push not to eat Israeli matzah for Pesach this year, but to get it from Streitz, which I believe is manufactured in New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken, but it's American made. But it's don't get genocide matzah. And again, how it is that these snotty kids have a full set of teeth and a nose that isn't broken. I don't get it. I really don't get it.
So the moral of the story is this: the matzah factory may have some downtime after Pesach, so maybe we should decide that we're going to have some along the way during the year. But my response to Alex was this: well, it never goes stale. You know, we could be matzah that was made 10 years ago, and we'd never know it.
It actually it's a good survivalist supply, to keep on your shelf, in
Yeah,
case of emergencies.
yeah.
Not quite as, you can't make French toast out of it like you can with challah, but hey,
You
got to
can
do what
make
you got
some,
to do.
you can make some really good what we call matzah crack, which is matzah that is drizzled with chocolate and toffee. And Kathy made some of that this year. That's amazing.
The th the
And
thing the thing that's interesting is I actually eat very little matzah.
yeah, I know you do.
In all honesty, I mean, just for the seder, uh, our understanding is the obligation to eat matzah is at the seder. I don't eat it much during the week. I mean, I don't eat that much. Well, I shouldn't eat that many carbs to begin with. But and it's kind of tough on the system, kids. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, but for 1 week, Matzo pizzas. I've already had a couple. Planning on probably having one for lunch. And that's just the way it goes.
That's it, boys and girls.
All right, Hanok. Well, take
Have a
care
great one.
and
Enjoy the rest of Pesach, and we'll hope to catch up next week.
you got it. Take care.
See ya.